What's up, everybody? Thank you for spending this nice little Monday evening with us. I'm joined with my boy Street Scores Rico. He has an excellent YouTube channel on YouTube, obviously. How you doing today, bro? How's everything going?
I'm good, man. Just chilling, just staying out of the rain, and love talking some football, man. I already know I'm gonna learn some things from y'all, so I'm excited and love the intro, man. Intro is super official.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Also here, Felix Trammell, beat writer for 1340 AM Fox Sports. Dude, how you doing today, bro?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. And like you said, that was a dope intro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. What's going on? Cool, man. So, yeah, guys, what we're going to do today, we're going to talk some Washington football training camp. I know both of you guys are deep into it. I know Felix was at training camp recently. I know Street Scores is all about the deep details and all that. So we're definitely going to jump into it and talk about it. But guys, what I like to do every single show to kind of break the ice, to kind of loosen everybody up a little bit, I like to do a little trivia, right? And hopefully you guys are all right for it, right? And it's nothing to embarrass anybody, just for fun. It's kind of get things going. So, are you guys up for that?
Let's go.
Let's do it, man. All right, first question. I don't think it's that bad. We'll see how it goes, right? Who led the Commanders in touchdowns last season? Total touchdowns last season. I gave you guys a little hint if you guys listen a little bit. Any one of y'all jump in whenever you want.
I'm gonna go Antonio Gibson. Got a little bias. Not necessarily like a super hometown hero. He's from the metro area. But I root for him. I want him to be great. That's why the fumbles hurt my heart. Probably hurt me more than anybody else out of the fan base. It's like, you letting us all down. But yeah, he's the only person that, Terry's getting double teamed all the time. Logan Thomas always hurt. It's just process of elimination, I'm assuming, is Antonio Gibson.
All right, Felix, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Gibson. He usually finished off the drives. He would get that money at the end of the drive, so I would go with Gibson.
All right, very good. I was trying to hook you guys up a little bit. The correct answer is Antonio Gibson. Okay, he had 10 total touchdowns. Terry McLaurin had 5 total touchdowns. Antonio Gibson had 7 rushing and 3 receiving. So altogether, he had 10. So that's why I got the lead right there. All right, this was a little bit harder, but you guys are football guys. You might be able to get it, right? All right, next question. Cole Turner, he played for the Nevada Wolfpack, where he started his whole career as a wide receiver. What conference is Nevada in college football? I'll probably get someone wrong, to be honest with you. Someone asked me this, I wouldn't know.
I'm gonna give Street Scores, but I know the answer.
Oh, there you go. Good stuff.
Rico, what you got, bro? I'm a straight SEC guy, so like I even get the Big 10 and Big 12 mixed up sometimes. So I'm too far gone.
We get the Power Fives, but they should be West. The WAC. They should be the WAC. The Western Athletic Conference.
Okay.
Oh, actually, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. When I did the research, because someone says WAC in here as well. What I got was Mountain West Conference is what I got. So I don't know.
But they could have been a member of one and switched the other.
Because I didn't know if they switched or not. Because I got mine just researching this morning.
Those teams out there do switch a lot. So my automatic answer was the WAC, but Mountain West does make sense too.
All right, cool. Listeners, if you got mine looking at.
And Colorado State, and then you just now you're off on a tangent. And Rico's looking at
I'm an SEC kind of guy too, so I'm with it right there.
Well, right. I'm going to soon be an SEC guy, so I gotta learn all y'all stuff.
All right, let's talk about this one. All right, here we go. So Washington Commanders has 2 wide receivers from Ohio State, Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel. Who scored more touchdowns as a Buckeye?
Should be Samuel,
right? Terry was, he was out there, but it was more so Paris Campbell. Even the year before he came out, I would think Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, I would lean Samuel.
All right, interesting. So this one kind of caught me off guard a little bit, actually. So the correct answer is Terry McLaurin, believe it or not, right? Terry McLaurin walked away with 19 touchdowns. He had 75 catches for 1,251 yards in his career. Curtis Samuel was a running back for the most part, if you guys remember that, right? And he ended his career with 15 total touchdowns. So Terry McLaurin had a little bit more, so kind of caught me off guard there too.
Interesting.
All right, this one, Rico kind of jumped the gun on this one a little bit. So I'm still going to ask the question. All right. Antonio Gibson played his college football at Memphis, but he was born and raised in which southern state known for Chick-fil-A and Coca-Cola?
Yeah, that's a layup.
I did it on purpose. I wanted to make you feel good. What do you got, Rico?
Got to put my answer in for Georgia. Final answer.
All right, Felix, do you agree?
Yeah, definitely Georgia.
right. Very good. All right, last question, and then we'll jump into some training camp questions. All right. Brian Robinson, okay? He played behind 2 NFL star running backs while at Alabama. Can you name either one of them?
Does Alvin Kamara count? No, that's too long ago. Josh
Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs is one.
That's more recent.
Okay. And one's a stud. One's a fantasy football stud right now, going in the first round.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Force.
Derrick Henry's too long. Too far gone.
I'm trying to think. Mark Henry. Alvin Kamara. Not Alvin Kamara.
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania State.
What's the name of the Steelers?
Najee Harris. Najee Harris. Yeah.
Najee Harris is the correct answer. Very good, man. So thanks, guys. Thank you for humoring me with the whole icebreakers. I like a little trivia to get things warmed up real quick. So, guys, it's the Washington Commanders podcast, and I respect both of your opinions. I know both of you guys go on and do the work. So, it's about 2 weeks deep into training camp, and I'm just kind of curious. Like, we'll start off with Rico. We'll start off with you, then go to Felix next. What do you guys think is like the big narrative? What's your big takeaway so far with this whole training camp in regard to everything? I'm just going to leave it open-ended. Like, what's your takeaway so far, Rico? Start off with you.
Well, I'll probably save this for like what I'm more excited about. So I'll switch my answer to, I'm surprised by how good Kendall Fuller's been, right. Honestly. I mean, I think he's a solid cornerback too. But so far in camp, I mean, it sounds like he's going to be like really good. I mean, at first it was Benjamin St. Juste that was the hardest cover for Terry McLaurin and the guy John Dotson. But since training camp is open, Kendall Fuller has arguably been one of the 5 best players on our team as far as especially being consistent. Even at the FedEx Field practice, I'm hearing that he shut down everybody that ran against him. So right now, my storyline and probably my biggest surprise is how good Kendall Fuller's been. Again, he's a good, solid corner, and I think he's a really good cornerback too. But right now, it's looking like he may be headed to his best season.
That's a great observation, man. I totally agree with you. When we got Kendall Fuller back, I kind of viewed him as like a tier 2, kind of like a B kind of cornerback, but like he's shining right now. I listened to John Com's podcast today, and he's one of the standouts in camp. I'd probably say Kendall Fuller and Montez Sweat are probably the 2 that are getting a lot, and John Dotson too, but those are the big 3 that are getting a lot of press right now. So I'm actually really impressed by Kendall Fuller. Felix, what do you got, man?
Kendall was my guy. I wrote about Kendall. He's having the best camp of anybody on the team. And I think the reason why is he is a number 1 corner. He's not Jalen Ramsey or anybody that. He's a number 1 corner, but they're finally doing what he does best. He's a zone guy. And when he zones up and gets to his keys, he's everywhere. He's right where he needs to be. And conversely, they made Jackson the more man press corner, which is what he naturally does. So now the secondary works because everybody's doing what they should be doing. But to get somebody else, and Montez has had a good camp. Charles Leno has been absolutely spectacular. And he's going to be one of the most underrated left tackles in the league. But, I mean, the guy he barely breaks a sweat. His feet are so good. No matter who rushes that in, they're not getting to the quarterback. And he's just been there. He's now the emergent leader of the offense. I asked Carson about that on Saturday. His connection with Leno, and you can kind of see that he is that voice of the offense. So when chirping goes on back and forth, it's Leno leading the offense in the chirping against those defensive line guys. So not getting a lot of bump, not getting a lot of press, but Charles Leno has just been a stud at left tackle, and it's great to seeing that the whole debacle with Trent Williams and all of that, but to have such a quality left tackle at such a good price, you just can't beat it. So that's my underrated one of the camp. He's just having a stellar camp. I mean, I have not seen him get beat yet. He just doesn't get beat. He's just where he needs to be. His hands are good. His feet are amazing. No one's getting around the end. They can't bull rush him. It's just he's been solid. And if he can perform like that, that's going to give trust to Carson to perform at his best level, because he knows his backside is protected. And that's what he had when he was in Philly with not Lane Johnson, but
Jason Peters, right?
Jason Peters. But so if he can feel like that, then he's going to play at a high level. So Charles Leno has been my underrated star of camp.
That's interesting.
I like the line,
You want to say are you an O-line kind of guy?
I mean, I played safety, but
I like
O-line. I think that's where you win. That's the heart, if that O-line, D-line's not working, then the rest of the team's not going to work. Period.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. So like, it's funny. I kind of caught the interview you were talking about. It might even have been you asking the question, but it was Carson Wentz kind of referred to Charles Leno as being a leader in the locker room and kind of like he's that veteran presence because we have a pretty young team altogether. I think we average like 23, 24 altogether, but we have, Carson Wentz is 29. I believe Leno is about 30, I think as well. So they're kind of up there. So I think they kind of feed off each other and there's someone to relate to because Carson Wentz kind of had an interesting quote the other day. Like, I'm one of the only guys in the locker room with kids. I'm kind of like, it's kind of unique for me. I've been more like a veteran team. So he's kind of the leader and hopefully he can actually kind of rise to the occasion because that was kind of his going back. So kind of pivoting on that, right? So what are your thoughts on Carson Wentz so far? Like we're just general perceptions. Like we're hearing some murmurs of inaccuracies and things like that. Does that bother you yet, Rico? How are you feeling about that?
No, I mean, when we picked up Carson Wentz, we expected him to be an inconsistent guy. And I think that may even leak pretty far into the regular season. I mean, ideally, he'll become more consistent. But, I think more realistic, he's going to be the guy that looks like a top 5 quarterback one week and then looks like, why did we trade for this guy another week? I can see that happening. Hopefully we get more of the prior far more often.
100%.
But so I'm not surprised because first of all, technically his number one target, Terry McLaurin, hasn't thrown to him until the day that Terry McLaurin signed his contract, flew out to California, and then now he has training camp with him. I'm not surprised that he has better chemistry with Jahan Dotson, who's been here since OTAs and mini camps, than to Terry McLaurin. And I feel like once all of that chemistry gets down packed, we'll be good. It's also a change of philosophy. Scott Turner wants him to check it down. He wants him to throw it out of bounds, take the sack, not halfway fall into the ground, try to make some amazing play and throw an interception in the red zone. So it's a change of philosophy. It's a change of players. He's not used to having, to me, this is the best receiving group he's ever had easily in his career. And he's having to adjust to the speed. I'm hearing a lot of passes are behind him. And then a lot of things have been over him because now he's trying to overcompensate and sometimes he's overthrowing guys slightly. But I am very encouraged by how quickly him and Cole Turner have found each other. That seems like a match made in heaven in the red zone. And even like Cole Turner's underrated even throughout the rest of the field. The first 80 yards, they can get open down the seam quite a bit. And then also his chemistry with Jahan Dotson, our first round pick. I think how quick that was makes me more optimistic about that. He can get it figured out with Terry McLaurin sooner rather than later.
That's a good perspective, right? So you're optimistic. You're thinking that, I think I agree with you. I think so far Carson Wentz is what he is. This is kind of what we expected from him. We kind of thought that he would have that physical talent. There definitely has to be an acclimation period because he hasn't worked with Terry McLaurin yet. I went up to training camp, and Felix, I know you have too. I've seen some things where he kind of be on 7-on-7, he'll be wide open, but his mechanics are just a little bit off, a little bit high, a little bit low, but I wouldn't be too discouraged yet because, 2 weeks of training camp, new wide receivers, new system. There's a lot going on. So hopefully he will get better. I do foresee Carson Wentz being a hot topic all season long. And I'm definitely I don't know how y'all feel. We'll talk about this later on in the podcast. I don't know if it's going to be like Heineke season or freaking put Sam Howell in and all that. I don't want any of that. I think in a dream scenario, I want to see Carson Wentz go all 17 and, have a good year. So we'll see how that goes. But Felix, what you got, man? What do you think about Carson so far? This is what expected or how you feeling?
This is about what I expected. I think Rico touched on some good points. He played a lot of hero ball in Philly. And Philly required him to do that because of the way the offense was structured. It was him and Ertz and make a play, be Superman. And you saw a little bit of last year when he didn't have to be Superman, 27-7. And I think that's the number that the team needs to focus on. 4,000 yards is the magical fantasy, yada, yada, yada. If he throws for 3,500 yards and 30 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, we're winning 10 games. Because if you think about where we were with Heineke in the limited offense, limited because of his quarterback capabilities, and a number one schedule with 7 wins. You talk about a schedule with a stronger arm quarterback should get you more. So I've seen what I need to see from him. He can push the ball down the field. I think the play at the practice on Saturday, where he threw the bomb, he ducked under some pressure, stood flat-footed, and threw it 55 yards in the air. We have not had a quarterback
that in years. I agree.
That hurt Diami last year because he couldn't be a burner. that kept Terry locked down, that kept the offense very vanilla because you couldn't stretch the field. There was no threat of it because they didn't believe the quarterback could get it there. Now, just that thought, just that expectation of that he can open up a lot. And so I think it's about Scott Turner, have him do the game, and then once or twice beat Carson Wentz. Once or twice make that play. You don't have to make the play all game. Once or twice make that play. And if we can get that and get somewhere around 65% completion.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question in a second. Yeah,
that's where he needs to be. If we can get 65%, that's good because he has better receivers. It's gonna take time because these are fast receivers. You got to be on the ball with them because the top 4 can run routes amazing, and Dax is running routes crazy too. So you got to be ahead of where you think they need to be. And second, with the tight end group, he has
I love the tight end group.
Lots of middle work. Plus, he has lots of checkdowns. So it's going to be on him. I don't have to be the superhero. They don't need him to be the superhero. And that's what he was in Philly. If he gets out of that, he'll be fine. So that's about what I've seen from him. I know people were like, "Oh, he's been all over the place. He's been all over the place." I've seen worse. I've seen worse
recently.
I've seen worse. And not to burst people's bubbles, but Taylor Heineke is still high and outside.
Yes.
I call him high and outside Heineke because he's high and outside. And so you got those two factors. And Sam Howell has a great arm, but he's going to have a long way to learn. So,
I agree. I definitely agree with that. We can talk about that.
So I know I've gone on a little bit, but I think that around 65% should be his target, and they need him at 35 throws a game. If you're at those two parameters,
it's more of a passing offense. Okay, cool. Okay, interesting.
It's 35, and 5 or 7 of those are screens.
I agree. So from the open practice, I saw some pretty positive takeaways, right? So one thing that I really liked was Carson Wentz stands in the pocket. Hopefully, there was trash around his feet. He stood there, high and present. And he just, drove into the ball. And I hope he continues that. I hope it's not like he feels comfortable at practice. He's not scared to get hit. Hopefully, actually, he's a confident person that can do that. And from what I understand, I posted that the other day. People are saying that's who he is. He's definitely a confident person. I do agree that he does open up the playbook and open things up deep. Dyami Brown comes from UNC, which is a very simplified offense in college, and they are very, run and gun, 1 and 2 reads, and he mostly ran 9s when he was at UNC. So I think he's gonna kind of have like an Aldrick Robinson kind of role, where it's going to be like he's our 4th wide receiver. It's going to be kind of like people are going to be scared of Jahan Dotson and Samuel Lynn McLaurin, and then all of a sudden Dyami Brown's going to be running up the field. No one's going to be covering him, hit him deeper over the top. I'm really excited about that. So, real quick, Rico, before we pivot, your boy B-Rev in the chat. I like this question. And, Felix said 65%. So far, Carson Wentz is 62% completion for his career. Is that good enough, or do you expect more? Or do you think we should have more? What are your thoughts on that?
Not even just from him. I just think it's going to naturally be higher with just like the point you just made, where it's going to be a lot of screens. He's going to probably throw to the running back even more than he normally does, and that automatically increases your completion percentage because you're throwing it to the guy basically next to you a lot of the time. But also it's just the nature of the offense. Scott Turner is going to want him to take a lot of underneath things to open up the big play down the field. So naturally, I think his completion percentage should increase. Scott Turner is really trying to preach a safer offense because, it's just too much talent. Our defense should be really good. Hopefully in a bounce back season, our run game should be very potent. And after a while, tackling Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson has to wear you down. So it's just basically like not game manager, but just don't mess up. Just do what we ask you to do.
Work within the system.
Yeah, well, like you said, 1 or 2, maybe have 1 or 2 Carson Wentz plays that we need where this is on you. But for the most part, I just want him to go with the choreography that Scott Turner lays out for him, please.
So speaking of Scott Turner, we'll do that before you go on to our next question. Are you guys both individually Scott Turner fans? Do you guys like him? Felix, start off with you.
Well, I played against Scott Turner in high school.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
Small world.
Yeah.
So you hate him. Go ahead.
But anyways, I've always had the grade of incomplete with Scott Turner because his offense has been limited by his quarterback. So he started with Haskins and had that situation that fell off, and then he had Kyle Allen, then Alex Smith, and then it was limited Alex Smith. It wasn't healthy Alex Smith, and it was Fitzpatrick. Then it was Heineke.
Was Keenum involved in there? I forget. Keenum was more the Gruden guy. I don't know. Go ahead.
I think Keenum was the last Gruden. Okay. And then, so you haven't been able to do your full potential. So now you have a quarterback who can make all the throws, and add to that a good running back core, a good receiver core, a good tight end core. Now I can see how he's calling a game. What is he setting up? What is this play in the first quarter setting up in the fourth quarter? How is he sequencing runs? Because it used to be, I knew the formation. I knew where the run was going. It was going A gap, left side. It was it was too predictable. So I know if I could predict it, I knew the other team could predict it. So I have an incomplete grade for Scott Turner. I think the mind is there because his dad had the mind.
I agree. He's insulated. He's definitely
it's in there, but I just need to see it with the actual quarterback and not. Please don't take slight of Taylor Heineke. He's a good quarterback, but he is limited in the throws he can make. And there's NFL throws that Taylor Heineke can't make, so you can't call those plays. So I want to see the full repertoire of the offense. So I have an incomplete, but I do think he possesses the ability. But there's a difference between having an offense and calling plays and sequence of that offense. And I'm not sure about that. I think that's where I have the question mark over him. Can he call a game?
I like that.
All right.
He has an interesting play design, but can he actually be logical sequence and calling the plays and setting someone up and things like that? It's going to be interesting to see. I think I'm with you, but that's really opened my eyes. I do like his potential. I think if you're in a football household, you're going to be insulated with knowledge. You're going to see that. You're going to grow with that. But is he actually going to put it into action and put it into fruition? So I am optimistic. Like, I think he has the potential to be one of our, we've been kind of breeding offensive coordinators and sending them off. I can see him becoming a head coach one day, but we'll see how it all turns out. But Rico, what do you think, bro? Are you a Scott Turner fan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very optimistic. First of all, to add to Felix, I mean, a lot of great points. And before I really dive into Scott Turner specifically and his game plan and why I feel like I believe in him. First of all, I like the fact that he's a young coordinator. We have the Ron Rivera, the Jack Del Rio stick to the book, old time 80s type of football mentality guys. It's nice to have that innovative guy because that's where the league is going. All of these innovative younger coordinators are the guys that's bringing out the best in their guys. They're more relatable too, so guys want to play for them. They're more passionate. They willing to run through a wall for those guys. So I'm just really happy that we have a Scott Turner, and like y'all said already, I mean, the pedigree coming from his dad, it's somewhere in there. Also, we haven't seen an Eric Coyle offense yet. This is technically an Eric Coyle offense, but because of how limited we've been at the quarterback position, the seams,
the can't go deep. I agree, man.
It's just I don't. So I feel sorry for him because he's trying to make the most out of what he has. I mean, I think we've seen. I mean, I'm somewhat an incomplete grade, but I'm probably a little more optimistic than that because that last drive against the Buccaneers, longest play out of the entire NFL, the entire
10
season.
drives or 10-minute drive or whatever it was. 16 plays. That was a bit huge. Yeah.
Without explosive plays, you can't win in the NFL. You don't expect to put together 5, 8 plus 10-minute plus yard drives every game. That's just nobody's doing that. Not even Sean McVay. You need chunk plays. You need explosive plays. Now that not even just increased talent at the quarterback position. We didn't have a wide receiver 2 last year where Curtis Samuel hurt, and technically DeAndre Carter's your wide receiver 2. So I just feel like this is a good year to finally evaluate Scott Turner. I'm not going to already say he's a great coordinator, but but what I've seen based on the past and what he's had to work with, I'm optimistic about him being a great quarterback, and this is the year to truly see, all right, no excuses. You have your quarterback, you have a nice ensemble of weapons. This offensive line should continue to be really good. John Moscow works magic in that way. You've got your tight end. You love throwing Carson Wentz loves throwing the bigger targets. You have 3 or 4 of them. And then now you also have Terry McLaurin, the best receiver that Carson Wentz has ever thrown to. No excuses for any of these guys, honestly.
I agree. I think there are no more excuses for Scott Turner. I think he finally has an array of weapons to kind of distribute the ball and kind of lead the offense as well. I like what you said, and you and I are on the same page, Rico. I think Ron Rivera is a culture builder, and I think he's a program builder, and you can start to see the demeanor of the players and the way they carry themselves and things like that. But I don't think, I don't want to be a hater or whatever, but I don't think he'll take us over the top. I think he's the kind. He's there's transition quarterback, like the placeholder quarterback. He's like that placeholder coach. He's like, we get him in there, he'll get us on the right foot, and then eventually we need that offensive coordinator guy, that new young talent to take us over that next level. And in a dream scenario, this is kind of something, I don't know if it's a hot take at all. Dream scenario, Ron Rivera sticks around for a little while, goes up into the front office position, and then Scott Turner becomes our head coach. I think that'd be kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys like that at all, or if it's too provocative. I think that will keep continuity and kind of keep the team together. So any thoughts on that before we move on?
I think naturally, if that happens, that means Scott Turner is coaching his tail off. If he gets that type of promotion, he's coaching his tail off. So, yeah, I think ideally if Ron Rivera ends up in the front office, because I want Ron Rivera around. Like you say, he's a culture guy, but we do need a guy that's more of a strategist. And also, I mean, even now, Ron Rivera, I feel like he's the reason that we have this philosophy of where we get up on teams and now we're just playing it safe. We're up 10. Let's just try to stay up 10. No, I want him to let Scott Turner off the leash, and we're up 10, keep throwing deep bombs and try to go up 20.
And then Kyle, you're right. You said bridge coach. That's exactly what I was looking for. So there's a good question that I saw in the chat. Let me actually pull it up real quick. So somebody said, there you go. Speaking of offense, right? Is Antonio Gibson fumbling his way to the bench? You knew this was going to come up, so he was going to pop up. Yes. So we'll start off with Felix. Felix, we'll start off with you, and then we'll jump in a second. Then we'll go to Rico in a second.
Gibson has so much ability, but the fumbles have just they've got to stop. Friday at practice, he had 2 bad fumbles on the goal line. I mean, they were bad fumbles. I mean, one bounced off his hip. Casey Toohill called it in his face. It would have been 80 yards down the field. And the only one I see have bad handoffs is him. And the issue with him is it's going to be all those other running backs are natural running backs. They've been running backs their whole life. He's the convert. So those little things of taking a handoff, they've taken probably 10,000 handoffs in their lives. Ryan Robinson, J.D. McKissick, and Patterson, and Williams, and all those guys. He's behind the 8 ball. So he's going to have to be careful because Robinson's a stud.
I like Robinson a lot. I like Robinson.
And he offers everything that Gibson offers in a taller, slender body. He can catch too. So now you have McKissick who can catch the ball, and he's a weapon. And we all know and love J.D. McKissick. And we saw how the offense suffered when he was no longer on the play. All right. So you have that. So now you got to make sure that, that Gibson has to be there. He's going to get his chances. He's going to start. He's going to be the first running back in the huddle, but he's going to have to be there. And
I think he broke up a little bit. So while we're getting Felix back on his feet, so shout out to Matthew, one of Rico's followers. He brought it up. He said 2021 with COVID, injuries, QB down the first game. He took all the snaps in training, and the defense was trash the first game, which is true. First place schedule, we did pretty good. Honestly, 7-10. And I looked at our last 6 years. We average about 7 to 8 to 9 wins every single year. So we're pretty solid altogether. We just got to break through. So shout out to Matthew. I see you in the chat. And, while we're waiting for Felix to come back, guys, feel free to subscribe to my channel as well. I'm definitely starting to bring this up. And, Full Press Commanders, follow me on YouTube. Definitely hit that up over there.
Just to let y'all know, everybody that's here for me, he's one of the best follows on Twitter, man. Definitely subscribe to his YouTube, man.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. So, Rico, real quick, man, same question with Felix had. He'll come back in a minute. So what are your thoughts? Is Antonio Gibson fumbling his way to the bench, as your boy said?
Well, first of all, I mean, Ron Rivera has shown even last year that he will bench you if you keep fumbling. And they're clearly not even that high on Jared Patterson. It seemed like at a certain point late last season, they like Jonathan Williams more than Jared Patterson.
I agree with that.
But they benched Antonio Gibson for Jared Patterson at a time because they were like, all right, this fumbling, there's just no excuse. And then for me, I mean, literally 30-minute drive from my house. So like I'm going to root for him the loudest, but I'm also going to be his harshest critic. And he has to stop fumbling. And then even on top of the fumbles, like with him transitioning from receiver to running back, you would think he would be more of a receiver. Like you would think we would have him out wide more. He'd be running better routes. He wouldn't be dropping passes thrown to his chest. Like you got to pick one. If you're struggling, your excuse for fumbling is because, I was a receiver for the majority of my life. But then where's the positives and the advantages of being a receiver your entire life? Where's the great hands? Where's the separation on route running?
It's funny. Like, that kind of went away for some reason, right? So what happened? Like, be elite at one of them, right? And he's also a big guy, too. He's like 6'2", I think 230 pounds, 225 pounds. Like, he should be able to truck somebody, I like Gibson. I think Gibson does have that upside, and breaking 1,000 yards is just the kind of it's just scratching the surface. He has 21 touchdowns over his first 2 years, so he's legit. But he needs to be that bell cow back, and he needs to stop fumbling. So it was a legit question. He had 6 fumbles last year. The highest non-quarterback fumbler in the entire NFL was on our team, and it's always at a costly time too. So it's definitely
a lot of those fumbles literally led to direct points. I mean, we were beating the Chargers. And then he fumbled. They scored immediately afterwards. I was at that game. Never gained the lead back.
Killed me. Yeah, I was at that game. It was awful. Yeah. So, Johnny, if you're asking 10-7 in a ring or 13-4 with a playoff loss, I'll take a ring all day long. That's an easy question right there.
Yeah, I'll take a 7-10 ring if we could get in there and like what the Giants did that one year where they shouldn't have been in the playoffs, and then they went all the way and won it. I'll take that any day.
100%. That was a great Super Bowl too. This is a great one right here. So I agree with this one. Tiki Barber had a fumbling bug, and now he got it fixed. What's up to our boys coming in this podcast? What's up, fellas? How you guys doing? What's up, Steve?
That's good.
All right, so let's move on a little bit more. So we're still waiting for Felix to come back, but Rico, besides, we talked about running back, talked about Carson Wentz. Is there a particular position group that you're really interested in, to be kind of keeping your eye on, that you're really excited about? Yeah, go for it.
Group, and it's by far. Yeah. I don't even have a close second. I mean, of course, the quarterback
it's so interesting,
position, right? Yeah, the quarterback position is the most important position in football, really in all of sports. But that tight end position, I'm so excited, and I don't want anybody to get hurt. I mean, I want our guys as healthy as possible, but I may be one of the very few people that's so happy that Armani Rogers and Curtis Hodges are getting all of the looks that they're getting in training camp. I'm one of those Armani Rogers could eventually be Darren Waller type of guys. I'm just I'm going to believe in it. I'm putting my name next to it.
Time out for a second, Rico. So shout out to Rico. So I was driving to training camp, and basically I was listening to his 7 questions going into going into training camp. It's a YouTube clip. Check it out if you guys haven't checked it out yet. Fantastic. He talked about Armani Rogers. You had that same thing, Darren Waller, and I think you said Chase Claypool as well, right? You said we have a variety. But go ahead, go ahead. Speak on it.
I mean, hey man, I'm super passionate about it too. I just don't even know where to start. But I guess I could start with Armani Rogers. If you look at him as a receiver, he has Chase Claypool athleticism. If you look at him as a tight end, he's a developmental guy that I think eventually could be a Darren Waller under the right circumstances. I don't think it's just an automatic. He's going to go out there and be one. We're going to have to coach him up. Sadly, we lost Pete Hainer, which makes me a little less optimistic, but I still believe in his athleticism. Also, he's been making a lot of plays in training camp now with the injuries to everybody else. He's been a really good receiver for us the past couple of years. I mean, he showed out in FedEx Field, and then today was probably his best practice. And then Curtis Hodges, how do you defend 6'8", especially somebody 6'8" that can move like that and his hands like that? And he's improving as a blocker, because that's the main thing. Like with Armani Rogers, love his receiving ability. I don't think he has the build to really truly ever be a good blocker. He may be somewhat of like a Vernon Davis in that way. But I think Curtis Hodges and Cole Turner, essentially in a way that it's like a matter of keeping your pad level low, hand placement, and you can actually be an effective blocker, at the very least stay in people's way. And then if you need a block, you have John Bates, who's already one of the better blockers in the NFL at the tight end position. And Samus Reyes, coaches always say he's our most physical blocker. Only thing he's lacking in comparison to John Bates blocking wise is a little bit of more refined technique. Again, hand placement.
He's a brute. He's a big boy. Yeah, some people around. Yeah, I agree.
And now, I mean, we remember last preseason, every catch that he caught was a bobble, but now he's not bobbling in as much. And I think maybe in like 2 years, Samus Reyes can be something special. Don't necessarily have a comp for him exactly, because there's just never been somebody that athletic and that raw coming to the NFL. He didn't even know what cover 2 was when we first got him. Like
I remember that. I do remember
he's just like absolutely no football knowledge, as raw as it gets. But I mean, just out of the freak athletes that we have in this tight end group, and there's a certain floor to it with Logan Thomas when healthy, John Bates and those guys, and Cole Turner receiving wise, that I'm really excited about the future of this tight end group.
Me too.
It kind of mirrors my Georgia Bulldogs, because I think we're about to have historically like a tight end group.
Felix is not a Bulldog fan apparently. Okay, that's something to learn right there.
I'll explain why. It's not Georgia hate. It's Kirby Smart hate. Go ahead.
Oh,
so
I can't even argue against that. We'll definitely get that.
So welcome back, Felix. I'm going to ask you a question in a second. So basically, what I asked Rico when you were gone was what position group are you keeping your eye on? I'll ask you in a second. But Rico, before we get back to Felix, who do you think we're going to keep in the tight end room? It seems like a pretty crowded room. Who'd be are we keeping 4? And which 4 are we keeping? Do you have any idea yet? What are you thinking?
I'm really hoping we keep 4. Maybe because Samus Reyes contributes in special teams quite a bit. That will probably edge us into keeping 4, hopefully. But I mean, it's just blind optimism. I'm really hoping we keep 4 some way or another. Plus, Logan Thomas is on pup list, so we'll see how that works out as far as going into the 53-man roster. But I think Logan Thomas automatic, of course. Cole Turner, you spent the 5th round pick, and him and Carson Wentz already have a pretty good connection. And then obviously John Bates. And then from there, it's a fight between Curtis Hodges and Armani Rogers. I don't know. I love them both. It's going to be really sad to see either one go because I can see a team picking them up and being more patient with them than we are. But that's a good problem to have. When you can't pick too much talent, drop, that's a good problem to have.
Very good. B-Rev, I see you in the chat. You have a great question. I'm going to ask you that right after I ask Felix. But Felix, what position group are you keeping an eye on? What do you got?
Well, he stole my thunder, tight ends.
Okay.
That's been my group. And I hate to say it, Reyes is on the outside looking in right now.
I think so too. I agree.
If I'm looking at someone, I'm looking at the safeties. And I've said this on other places, other podcasts, and some of my articles. The best defender on the team is John Allen. The most important defender on the team is Cam Curl. And the defense will go as Cam Curl goes. And the safety group around him. So I've been paying particular attention to this group. Curl does everything. He's the role that they envision Landon Collins having. He's actually doing that role. Line up at all 3 levels, blitzing, lining up at linebacker, deep safety, covering in the slot, covering running backs. I mean, he's doing everything. He's not coming off the field. Then Bobby McCain has really gotten to his own because he plays where he needs to play, and he plays he can trust. He couldn't trust Landon at the beginning of last season, and there was a lot of times where he's looking like, "What's going on?" Where Landon's supposed to be somewhere and he's not there, and it looks like it's just guys just jogging down the field for a touchdown. So now that he's able to play like he's supposed to play as that deep safety, Bobby McCain's been fine. Derek Force is now getting a chance to play in base, and it's been impressive. He's strong. He's physical. He can play deep. So now you have those 3 guys. Percy Butler was an amazing draft pick. He is fast. He can cover everywhere, and he's not afraid to hit. Then you have Jeremy Reeves, who's been a longtime veteran, knows the defense, core special teamer. You got the same thing with Troy Apke. You also have Gerard Gardner. My name's picked up. He looks like a linebacker. There is a part of me that says he gets converted down because you will see him. He's bigger than half our linebackers. He is bigger than half our linebackers. He's like
I gotta look out for him. I haven't really peeped him yet. I gotta watch out for him.
You're like, shouldn't y'all switch? Like, shouldn't you go back and you go up? So I think he'll be a candidate to be moved to linebacker because he's already a strong safety. It's just a natural progression down. So I'm looking at the safety group because the safeties can cover a lot of things, and we're going to play a lot of safeties. There's going to be a lot of times there's going to be 3 safeties on the field, and people got to understand that safety is also a modified linebacker. So relax on the linebackers, people. Relax on them. It's going to be covered, and I think the safety group is what's going to cover it. So that's the group I'm watching because I love the Cam Curl pick from day one, and I'm glad someone saw that vision in him. And now he's taking ownership himself. So that safety group would be my ones that I'm watching outside of the tight ends.
And the most interesting thing, Rico, I see you got your hand up. So the most interesting thing is that he's slept on nationally. People don't even really know about, we go on like these NFC East podcasts. We're talking about Eagles and Cowboys. I'm talking about Cam Curl. Like, who? Like 31. Watch out for him. He's going to be all right. Like, people don't even know anything about him yet. So it's really interesting. So Rico, what are you going to say? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
And first of all, Felix brought up a lot of great points. But to add to that, I think we're going to be in 5 defensive linemen far more than we'll probably ever be with 3 linebackers. I think 5 DBs the majority of the time, 5 defensive linemen second, like a distant second, and then 3 linebackers very rarely, unless somebody surprises us and steps up.
I like that creativity too. I think that it's more like the modern NFL. You definitely, like, for more run-based teams at that 5 defensive front, for more passing defenses, go to the 5 defensive, but they kind of be more flexible with it. So I'm definitely intrigued by that. So real quick, so Rev, you dropped this in the chat a little while ago, and I was kind of going this direction anyway, but it's a perfect transition. He said, fellas, identify your top 3 position groups that you're concerned about, right? So you're watching tight ends, you're watching safeties. Rico, we'll start off with you, man. What are the ones that you're worried about right now?
I mean, we just spoke about how linebackers shouldn't be as big of a worry because, we're going to make up for it in a lot of different ways. But if we're just isolating the position group in itself, linebacker is still my number 1 because we just got to see if Jamin Davis can step up and play full time because we're still bringing out David Mayo in red zone drills and obvious run situations. And I'm worried about that for the regular season because what if a team acts like they're going to run the ball and then throw it, and now David Mayo is just completely lost in coverage. So I'm going to need Jamin Davis to step up and learn how to work through traffic and
we need
work
Davis
with those offensive linemen something. If you can't beat them physically, beat them mentally. Get to the hole before they're able to even get their hands up and stuff like that. If you got to figure out some way
create some pressure,
to be able to, to produce and run fits in some way. And so the linebacker group will probably be my number 1. Number 2, and just because of injuries and quite a bit of turnover, probably offensive line, but I could easily see it being our most consistent position group as long as everybody stays healthy. I could see it being our most stout. It arguably has our best coach on our entire team as his coach in John Moscow. He makes magic, gets greatness out of guys that people didn't know. Remember, Wes Schweitzer was a backup on a bad Falcons offensive line at one point. And then Charles Leno, the Bears let him go. And I remember the fans being like, why did y'all pick him up? He's worth nothing. Y'all are giving him too much money. Why did y'all extend him?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
And then to Felix's point, he's one of the most underrated players on the team. And I think John Moscow has a lot to do with that. Samuel Cosmi, we saw him as a freak athlete, but very raw. Yeah. And so I expected his run blocking to be, pretty good to come out.
It's because he's an athlete. He's quick. He can be on the right tackle and just, take off and run blocking. I agree. But
just move people forward. That's all we need. Right. But pass protection wise, he improved. Then when he got hurt, kind of reverted back a little bit to like off-season version of himself where he was a little raw, his feet. I think maybe he just didn't trust his body. He was still dealing with injuries even after he came back from being hurt. But Samuel Cosmi is further ahead in his development than I thought he would be. Chase Roulier is arguably a top 5 center in the NFL, very underrated, just amongst NFL people, media, fans, whatever.
I agree.
And I think he can make it work with Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner. We got to get Trey Turner back healthy.
Exactly.
And
I'm worried about that.
I've been hearing Andrew Norwell get bullied a little bit in training camp so far, especially by like Jonathan Allen and guys like that. But I think the offensive line will end up working out, but it's definitely a worry. Continuity issues and injury issues. And then third, tight end, again, because of injuries. I mean, I hate the default to the places that have the most injuries that we're dealing with for 2 and 3. But, I mean, it's a concern. Is Logan Thomas ever going to come back? Are we literally going to be going like 4 weeks into the season with our starting tight ends as Cole Turner and John Bates and maybe Sam is Reyes right behind them, or another guy, Curtis Hodges, Armani Rogers, playing meaningful snaps as undrafted free agents? And even though I'm excited about their potential, where's their floor? So those will be my 3 so far.
A little insight, because I was at today's practice. So Cole Turner, I'm a little bit worried by him. Like John Keim kind of diffused it, and he was like, "Oh, you know what? Like it's just a little hamstring issue, but soft tissues happen, and I'm sure athletes have had it before. I've had it before. It's definitely lingers, so you have to let it rest and then sit a couple weeks for it to go." He was definitely ginger today. He was on the side field. He was doing imagine like track hurdles, right? There was basically like a high hurdle and a low hurdle. He would go up and down and kind of step through them with Chase Young and a couple other people. It's kind of, dynamic stretching to get it warmed up. But he looked like he was like a couple weeks away. It didn't really seem like it's going to be like tomorrow's going to practice. So that's what I'm seeing with Cole Turner. And then Logan Thomas had a huge knee brace, like a gigantic, reconstructive surgery knee brace on, and he was doing some explosive stuff. He went down to the end zone, and they was doing a drill where he had to jump up and kind of tap the goal post and kind of get explosive movements out of it. So he's there, but I don't see him it's going to be some time. It would be surprising for me if Logan Thomas was there week 1, but I guess there is 3 weeks from now, so we'll see how it goes. But I don't know. Felix, throw the mic to you, man. How you feeling? So things you're worried about?
First of all, shout out my boy B Rev. Like, that's my guy. Like,
okay.
That's from kickball, but that's another story.
Okay.
So my positions are the same for different reasons. Tight end, I don't feel Logan's going to play week 1, and that's not a bad thing. They have the big brace on him because they want to protect him, but he's close. But I don't think he's going to play week 1. I think they can get away with him not playing a week or 2, and just being absolutely certain for him. But Cole, I saw Cole get hurt on Friday because Cole's been my guy, and I saw him. He was trying to labor through warm-up drills, and I could see him. And I'm like, okay, he's tweaked something. And he tried to go do 11-11s, and it just got to the point where they pulled him out. So I think just that depth there, tight end. Guard, I haven't been impressed with Norvell so far. And to be fair, he's going against Jonathan Allen, who makes a lot of people look bad. But there was one time Jonathan Allen literally picked him up and deposited him in Wentz's lap. Just literally like, here you go. Like he was a baby. He just picked him up, just put him down. And so I'm a little worried about that. Also with that, Wes can play either side, which is great. I love Wes, but he can only play one side. And if Trey Turner and Norvell is not doing good, you only got one. And then Sadiq Charles hurt himself. And I think Sadiq Charles is better fitted served at guard. So at guard, offensive guard is my concern, not center.
I'm worried about guard too. Exactly.
And just depth at linebacker because Cole's going to play every single snap. Damon's going to play 90 to 93% of the snaps. So if either one of them get nicked, then it's a concern. So Cole be there 100% every snap. Okay. Jamin, he's going to be out there 90 to 95% of the time. That's fine. But what happens if one of them rolls an ankle or something? And so
it happens in this league.
Still not proven in way on the field. Mayo has a very defined role against power run. You have Milo Effler's made some plays, but Milo is small. He looks like a safety. And so he's just small and he's raw. So it's that concern of depth behind those starting two linebackers that concerns me. And yes, they're going to cover with Cam Curl and Forrest and even Gardner and some of those other guys. But just those pure linebackers, you really only have one starting pure linebacker, and that's Cole Holcomb. Jamin Davis was a modified hybrid. So he's not a true linebacker. So that's my only concern if something happens to those two. So that would be my positions of worry. But and let me just stop the rumor now. Jamin is not losing playing time to David Mayo. All right.
Speaking of which, go ahead.
Everyone's been saying it. He's not.
Okay.
It's fine.
I agree. Yeah, I saw it in person too. I don't really see it that way. All right.
I think it's just them running through red zone drills and they just
getting some reps and kind of working.
When that happened and I tweeted it, the offense was running 3 tight end power runs. That's what they were doing. They were running 3 tight ends, pulling guard, counter tray, ISO power, wham blocking. So they're going against that's what they were working on in that drill while DBs were going one-on-one with receivers on the other side. And then when they got to 7-on-7, Davis is right there. So that was a set purpose. And they actually did a little bit of it Saturday night where they had the lines, they were running on run plays, power run plays, while the corners were going one-on-one with receivers. So we got to understand that there's a context to everything. And the downside of tweeting everything and you're trying to tweet it out, like, I don't see this, and this, is that it made a mountain out of molehill. And
I agree.
And so, I'm guilty of it because I tweeted it out. But I also asked the question. I was like, Ron, what's going on? And he told me he was straight up with me, so I'm going to take him at his word. And then I can see that all those other times, 52 was out there. So if he tells me and I see it, that's what I got to go with.
Gotcha. All right, fellas. So yeah, I agree with that. It's a good point. Good insight right there. A couple more questions. We can start wrapping it up. So first one, What do you guys think? So what is your level of worry with Curtis Samuel kind of being in and out of the lineup and Logan Thomas being hurt? Are you worried about the offense this season, or do you think we have enough firepower still to, let's say if they miss a couple games here or there, can they still carry the weight? Rico, what do you think about that?
I'm not too worried, especially these last few days when we've let Curtis Samuel just go. Pads, contact, let him run in all of the drills, 7-on-7s, 9-on-9s, 11-on-11s. He's looked good. He's taken on contact, fall into the ground, got back up like nothing happened. He looked smooth in his breaks and in his cuts and his route running and everything. So I'm not too worried. I think it's honestly, I mean, in the beginning, it sounded like they were just making it up as they went along. But now I can actually kind of see that, like, okay, they're going to allow him to go full throttle sometimes and then just take a little bit of a break. Don't worry, don't panic. And then we'll bring him back out again. And then really they're just all in for week one. They don't want to risk him getting hurt and meaningless. I mean, practice is necessary.
He's a veteran.
It doesn't add up in the win or loss column, so it's just no point in putting them in harm's way unnecessarily.
He's a dynamic player too, man. We got to root for. I think we got to root for Curtis. I think he can definitely add a different element to our team. But go ahead, Rico. Sorry to interrupt you.
Exactly. No, you're good. And to Felix's point about Logan Thomas, first of all, great insider point that like he should be fine, but they don't want to rush him for week one. Like if we had to, if like week one, the date of week one was the Super Bowl, he would play. Right. But it's just no reason for him to play week one. And so I appreciate hearing that because I didn't know that until Felix said it. So I'm really happy about that.
Cool. Felix, what about you, man? Are you concerned about Curtis Samuel and Logan Thomas maybe limiting our offense? How do you feel about that?
I'm not worried about either because I think there's good depth at each position, but they just add a dynamic. When I've seen formations where it's Terry, Curtis, and Jahan Dotson on one side, defense is stuck. Defense is stuck.
Because they can do everything. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's awesome.
Cole Turner was flexed out wide on the other side. So now it's like you got to make a choice. There's a choice that has to be made. And even Curtis with his jet motion has to be respected. You have to respect his motion. So him being out there just running that motion just makes the offense 1,000 times better. But with the depth they have with Dotson and Milnes playing great and Cam Sims is looking better and stuff, they have enough weapons, even with Robinson, McKissick, and Gibson. And you have all these running backs. You can run 2 running back sets that will act just like Curtis Samuels. They'll be fine. Logan, I think you just miss more of his savvy and his leadership because those young guys are just raw. And Cole Turner, honestly admitted, blocking is not my thing. I'm trying. And realistically, you're not going to have him like a Gronk or somebody that's really blocking a blind side of a quarterback against a defensive end.
I agree with that.
He's going to chip and go. Or if he's doing a run, he's just going to turn his body and be a shield until they get by him. So he's not really going to be asked to lock up. Like he's not asked to lock up Micah Parsons coming off the edge. Don't worry about that.
That's a mismatch right there.
So you got to put everybody in their time. But I think the offense will be fine. They would prefer to have them, but I think they'll be fine without them because they have enough offensive weapons. There's legit 10 weapons on that offense.
That's fantastic. That's a blessing to hear coming from Washington, right? We never hear. We're more of a defensive team for years and years and years. It's great to finally hear we have a plethora of weapons. I love that, man. That's awesome. So speaking to coaches, right? So Saturday night, one coach ran onto the field. He got booed by the entire crowd, okay? Do you think, okay, you go any direction with this? I don't really care. Your world. Is that justified? Was Jack Del Rio's, like, is his performance is it boo worthy? Was it because of our schedule last year? Is it off the field dynamics? You guys can do whatever the hell you want with it. Rico, start off with you, man. What do you got?
I think if you just put everything in one pot, I think at least one boo was deserving. Now, I think in the regular season, I think after we get into the regular season, leave it alone, give him another chance. As a fan base, I feel like this is his last chance, but with Ron Rivera, who knows? I have no idea.
That's exactly right. I agree with Rico. 100%. He's loyal to a fault. Like for me, I actually tweeted the other day. I was like, I don't expect him back. I if it wasn't for being so late in the offseason, he wouldn't even be here right now. I think Jack Doyle is on a hot seat, but you never know. If he has like a top 10 performance and things are going really well, he could definitely solidify his position here. Ron Rivera is a very loyal person. He didn't fire anybody on the staff, so I do think I think there is a longer leash than the fans perceive. So that's definitely something interesting as well. And we have 11 returning starters, so maybe the chemistry and maybe the communication basically comes back again. But sorry to interrupt you. So, what are your thoughts on him?
No, you good, because I super agree. But okay. I was just saying, I think one good boo, and we should be done.
I love one good boo. That's hilarious. Felix, what do you got?
It was definitely justified on both fronts, and they're going to have to be careful with it. Now, the teams had an out for him after the season, the underperforming of the defense. That was their out. And so when all that other mess happened, you couldn't fire him there, because that's going to turn into a lawsuit. That's going to turn into more mess.
I agree. That's a good perspective, Felix. I like that.
So you have to look at it that way. You have to look at it from that side. No matter how you feel about what he said, he deserved to get booed, which is fine. But on the field, you didn't modify your defense in enough time to save last season. By the time you did it and we made our run in November and going into December, the season was almost lost because we're fighting from behind. And your pride did that. So this is his hot seat. And so now if we start the season 2-5, that's their out. That's their out. Now we go 11-6 and win the division, he's going to be here. But he's going to have to adjust, because Chris Harris is coaching his butt off at secondary. I mean, that's if y'all want to see a coach.
Megan just dropped that in there. He's running up the field. He's very loud. He's always chirping. I love it. He's a good coach. He's a very good coach.
Vocal, but he's a teacher. He cares about the players who relate to him. Chris Harris is a guy, and that's a name I want people to watch out for in the future. So if he's bumbling down and we're still calling the defensive ends to drop back on third down, because we all love Chase Young and Montez Sweat to play flat defense.
Not for their coverage. Yeah, go ahead.
We all enjoy that. So if you're doing that, I'm giving Chris Harris a chance, because Chris Harris, with every player, and it's not just defensive players, it's offensive players too. He has a relationship with all those players. So this is his chance, because they could not fire him after that mess. It would have gotten messy.
That's a great perception. I didn't even think about that. It's very good.
We would have been Lee's story on all the things about the wrong reason.
Exactly.
So he has to know that there's a light under his butt to do well. And if he doesn't do well, give Chris Harris the reins, because Chris Harris would pull a lot out of that defense. And
I think he would. I love him too.
Chris Harris, but I just love good coaching, and that's a good coach. That's just a good coach. So that's on me, but you couldn't have fired him after what happened, but you can't put him out there. Like, he got to let him coach in the booth. And if he can't coach in the booth, you walk him out with a couple people like they did in OTA.
That's going to be interesting. I wonder how he will be treated at FedEx. That's very interesting.
You would have thought the president was walking out there. You couldn't touch him.
I mean, we're in a diverse city. I mean, freaking, we're out in PG County, man. You can't be acting that way around here, man.
Your fan base is DC.
People don't get that sometimes. They sleep on
police officers. I know DC police officers. You got to understand where you're at. And just the lack of reading the room was just terrible.
Awful.
But it was terrible. But like I said, Chris Harris would be somebody I would love to see have the entire defense and not just the secondary, because what he's coached up in that secondary has been amazing. I would love to see him with everybody.
You got something to say? Go ahead.
To add to the Chris Harris point, first of all, remember the Eagles tried to interview him for a defensive coordinator job last year. He's starting to become that hot name. I remember with Sean McVay getting interviews, and all of those got Matt LaFleur getting interviews, and they left and had success elsewhere. Chris Harris is one of those names. I mean, a division rival. I mean, I'm pretty sure he would be excited to do that, just to be able to go against us if we didn't extend the opportunity to him. Also, to add to Felix's point about relationships with the offense, I mean, even in Jahan Dotson's mic'd up, he's challenging Jahan Dotson directly. Like, you only give him 2 catches today.
Yeah, I saw
like,
that today. That's all we're
allowing.
I like
that. So now Jahan Dawson's like, all right, I got to go out there and prove something. Like, and Chris Harris has that relationship to bring out the better of everybody, not even just the defense. And then lastly, with the way the NFL is, and with the way we run our defense, there are 5 defenders on 5 DBs on the field most of the time. We only have 2 linebackers. Jack Del Rio came from playing linebacker. Chris Harris is a secondary guy. So he knows how to work with more pieces than what we utilize already than what Jack Del Rio is used to utilizing. He knows the point of view from the secondary, and this is a passing league. So I just think he would be better even just in that small, mundane way that maybe we're overlooking that a little bit, that, with him being secondary and that's his expertise, that would be better than a guy that's used to coaching linebackers.
Shout out to Joe Castle, one of Rico's subscribers. So he said, go Commanders from San Antonio, Texas. Fellas, I don't like to keep my guests over an hour, but I have 2 good questions. Can you guys hang on for 10 more minutes? Is that cool?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's do it. All right. So AJ Mather from Twitter, he asked me this question earlier, and I said I'd bring it up on the conversation today. I like it a lot. He said he wants to know who will be covering Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith in the slot on 3rd down for Washington. What do you guys think about that?
That for Gardner, it'll be St.
For Goddard, Dallas Goedert or
Dallas
Devontae
Goedert,
Smith.
it'll be St. Juice. That's the reason why St. Juice is in the slot to cover that tight end. Mm-hmm. He's bigger, more physical. St. Juice is going to struggle more with the like a Devontae Smith in the slot.
Shifty,
that's going to be his
wide receivers,
switch. Mm-hmm. But they do have flexibility where they can flip flop Kendall and him if they need to in a pinch. If
that's true, that's a good point.
They keep running it. But it's going to be St. Juice, and the more he's done it, the better he's gotten, because now he can trust his instincts, trust his body, because they have him there. Because even if you get beat and you're a step off, you're 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", you have arms. He's knocking down. And so I think he's learning how to do that, because in college he was so handsy, which you can be in college. It's just learning to play with chest, arms. And so it's going to be St. Juice. And we want the best for St. Juice because he has ability. He has ability. He's just got to get the confidence there. And I think Harris is working with him amazing.
And the whispers out of camp is he's the one corner that's giving Jahan Dotson a little bit of trouble right now. So it's kind of interesting. This was good to hear that. Rico, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, confidence is huge in sports, but especially the cornerback position. That's like the one where you just got to take your L's. Yeah, you got to take your L's and be like, all right, I got them next time. And again, a lot of talent. But if you're not confident, you're not gonna play as freely as you need to. And I liked what I saw from him even against Devontae Adams early into his rookie season. He wasn't as bad as you'd expect. I mean, of course, he made a couple mistakes. Devontae Adams, got the better of him sometimes. But it wasn't even just Devontae Adams. It's the quarterback too. It's Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams. Probably arguably the best quarterback to wide receiver duo last season. And I feel like he held his own fairly well, especially as a rookie. And it was early into the season in his rookie season. It wasn't even like later. So I'm really excited about him. And I think, the Dallas Goederts of the world, that's our guy. And then Devonta Smith, I would hope like maybe we just go ahead and send William Jackson to follow him everywhere. I mean, I guess we had to figure it out with A.J. Brown, but I love Kendall Fuller. If we could put Kendall Fuller's mind in William Jackson's body, you have the top 5 corner.
100%.
Like literally, the only thing Kendall
100%.
Fuller is lacking is speed. Yeah. And so I just be worried about even with as smart as Kendall Fuller is, I feel like that you can scheme Devonta Smith to get open on him. Whereas William Jackson, just cover him. Don't worry about nobody else. When in doubt, Cameron Curl, Bobby McCain might have your back in some way. And then we'll just figure out A.J. Brown afterwards. I guess that would be Kendall Fuller's job. But obviously, I think Benjamin St. Juice is clearly the man for the Dallas Goedert.
Also, Cam Curl could do it.
I was going to say Cam Curl.
And Cam, with his size, especially if he gets flexed out when Cam Curl's down in the box, it's Cam Curl's job. And Cam can cover him as well.
All right,
I think he had a pass breakup on Curtis Hodges today, 6'8". I think he had a pass breakup today in practice. So
when I talked to Cam last week, he said he had about 10 pounds of muscle. He was playing at 195. He's like,
looks like a big boy. Looks like a big boy.
So now you can see the mass on him, and he's just bigger. and so he can handle that. He can handle that role.
All right, fellas. Last question by the champ _118. He says, what do you guys think about the edge pressure on the opposite side of Sweat with Chase Young for the first couple of weeks? Who do you think is going to take over that position? Are you concerned right now? How are you feeling? Rico, start off with you, man. What do you got?
Well, I think our projected starter when healthy is James Smith-Williams with Chase Young gone. And I don't think it's just going to be one guy that literally takes all of Chase Young snaps. I think James Smith-Williams is going to, split it with Casey Hill, and we'll see how much if FL Body will be ready, because he has a lot of explosion and speed.
Body, he does.
Like if we can nurture that a little bit, develop it, get him a little bit more technically sound, he can be somebody that's fairly explosive for us. I mean, he's one of those guys that shines, but he just disappears a lot in between plays. And so you work him into the rotation. I think we'd be just fine. I mean, granted, none of them are Chase Young, but even then, Chase Young, we still haven't seen him put together everything, like as far as technique. He has all of the athleticism in the world. There's a reason other guys are out producing him, because they have the more technical and nuanced stuff down better than he does. And so I think we'll be just fine. Plus, with the secondary improving, we may even be able to get some coverage sacks where the quarterback's holding on the ball too long. I think the defensive line is going to help the secondary. Secondary is going to help the defensive line.
Sweat's supposedly taking a step forward. John Allen's growing into his own. We'll see how, collectively, we'll see what happens.
Ron Payne playing for his next contract.
Exactly. He's angry right now. All right, Felix, what do you got, man? How you feeling about it?
Yeah, it's going to be James Smith-Williams. Casey Hill's done well as well. They're going to play within the system, so they're going to do exactly what you need them to do. Now, are they going to go out and be Nick Bosa? No, but we don't need them to go out and be Nick Bosa. We need them to go out and be James Smith-Williams and Casey Hill. Bada's been showing well. Tony's had a flash here and there. Bradley King. So there's depth at that position. So and a lot of those guys got good snaps last year when Chase went down and Montez went down. That a lot of those guys got to play. So they had to play in meaningful games. They were playing in that stretch run. So James Smith-Williams, he's gotten a little slimmer. To me, he was bigger, and I always was like, well, maybe you slide him inside. But he's doing it, and also they're doing it by scheme, because I've seen some 3-4 looks, and I've seen Mathis at nose with Payne and Allen at 3 tech tackles with Montez, and now James Smith-Williams and Casey Hill standing up. Okay. So now you're in a 3-4 look with 2 monsters at tackle. Mathis is going to take 2. Now you're going to have to pick a poison on the side. And so you can scheme it, because they're going to see Montez on one side. They're going to shift to Montez. That means you're going to have the weakest thing over here. So that gives James Smith-Williams and that gives Casey Hill and those other guys a better shot at success. So I think just that, because they play within the system, they're going to be system players. They're not going to make the all-world play, but they're going to make the system play. And I think the system play is just what they need until Chase comes back.
Gotcha. So, fellas, I kept you over an hour. I really appreciate it. And, guys, I love the chemistry today, man. That was awesome. First time us 3 collaborating together. It's some good stuff, man. We definitely got to get it back to going again.
For sure.
So, Rico, man, drop your social media. What are you working on these days? And kind of tell people where they can find you.
Yes, sir. You can find me on YouTube, Street Scores STREET space SCORES, and you can find me on Twitter, Street Scores ATL, and working on some more content. Just trying to put out daily content. Trying to keep it going, because like I was telling George, man, you got to stay on it for that algorithm. So I'm just and then plus I'm just having fun. I'm just so happy to have football back, whether it's college, NFL, and the fact that I can be excited about my team in the NFL. Finally, like I think we actually have some real optimism, to some true honest optimism coming around this team. So it's making content more fun. I'm not having to make stuff up. Like I'm okay. Kendall Fuller looks good this year. It's like so. And then Carson Wentz, at the very least, what I really like about him, at the very least, he's going to be fun. Now we'll see good, bad, either day. But I think every day is going to be fun because how unpredictable he is. So I'm just excited, man. Content's going to be fun. And then anytime, man, I learned a lot from like I predicted in the beginning of the video, learned a lot from Felix, learned a lot from you, George. I really appreciate it. So whenever you're ready to run it back, let me know. Let's do it, man. So Rico, definitely, I was telling him before the show, great quality content, great video edits, great film breakdowns. He's a great follow. Definitely keep that up. Felix, where can they find you, man? What are you working on?
They can find me at Blessed Commander. on Twitter and IG. All the stuff I write is on 1340 AM Fox Sports. Washington Rap Podcast with my boy Chad and Robbie, who's deep in his own football camp in high school, getting those boys ready on the offensive line. So just doing that stuff there. Like I said, I'm a person of the people. I'm there to report what I see. There's no bias. It's just what I see. That's what happened, and do with it what you will. But reach out. I love to talk. I definitely love to talk football. Doesn't matter the level. So that's where you can reach me. Hit me up anytime. Like I had a 3-hour chat about Jamin Davis yesterday. That was supposed to be my off day. So it doesn't matter. I enjoy it. I enjoyed this invite. I appreciate it, George.
Of course, man.
Yeah, it was great to work with you, Rico. I love you. I love breakdowns. I love film. So it was great to work with you fellas. And I'll be back anytime you need me to.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And guys, thank you for following me on Twitter at Carmi21. Guys, I'm just starting this whole YouTube game, so please hit the subscribe button, please. Full Press Commanders on YouTube. It's been a great time. Hope you guys have a great evening. Peace out, y'all. Have a good night.